What is going on, guys? Welcome to the Wednesday night live stream. Good old buddy Reefing with O. How you doing, man?
How you doing,
That,
Dev?
wonderful. How about yourself?
I am wonderful now.
Excellent. How's the world of reefing going with you lately?
The world of reefing is going excellent.
Perfect.
It's summer, it's hot, not much to complain about.
Yep, that's fair. John Wright, one arm reefer, Port Wolf, Dr. Wolf Magic. Good to see you guys. Jared, welcome. What's going on, Haley? So yeah. Hi, hi, Sev. Hi, Seymour. Dev. Thanks. Sounds like who is this Sev? Yeah, good to see you guys. So this is kind of like, I don't know. It feels like it's getting to summer. So this is like the slow season of reefing.
You think so?
Yeah, it always slows down a bit in the summer. Well, I don't know. I've been building motivation to do my tank swap, which will come soon. But
I think what's been happening is I've been on I've been on I am going to be taking you know, trips, and I've
yeah.
been resisting the urge to change things. So one of my radions went out, the middle one. I hope
Oh,
you guys can see. So I actually swapped it. I had another one, right? So I swapped it. Need to send the old one in to get fixed.
mm,
Um, Red Sea. I have a Red Sea reef mat. Was going to change that to a Clara Sea, and I sort of had the epiphany of don't make that change right before you go out on vacation, right before you leave.
that's fair.
And yeah, just other things I just wanted to tweak. Battling really high phosphates, like when I say high, like I'm afraid. Like the last time, the number started with a 3 before the decimal point. Now there's a 1 before the decimal point. So dealing with that, and
That's
then
fair.
just resisting the urge to change things.
That's fair. I You just made me realize that my phosphates are really high too. Not that I noticed didn't know this, but I do have
You ever tried
um
it?
I do have a
NP?
trident. I do.
You ever tried it NP?
I do.
Man, how do I get on the it list?
Well, I was beta testing it.
Man, see,
So I've had one for a while.
people accuse me of being on the it list, and I'm not on the. See, it's one thing when you're on the it list and people say you're on the it list.
Fair.
That's fine. I'll deal with it. But when you get accused of being on the it list and you're not, so Ecotech guys, if you're watching this, I know Jay probably watches. Jay, no,
Yeah.
is there a thing where you're begging so much it's pathetic?
It's possible.
All right, I don't want to
Yeah.
get into the pathetic realm, so I'm gonna back off for a bit. But
You're probably say. Okay. You just maybe I've been thinking about this for like a week and I haven't done it, but I just put the phosphate E on like 5 mils a day to like knock my phosphates down.
ah, okay.
My,
Um,
mine have been high for like weeks, and I didn't even realize how high my nutrients are because I never test them on my tank. And then the Trident NP made me realize how elevated they are. So I was like, yeah, I should probably fix that.
what are you? I know, guys. We just went straight into equipment, which is what Dev and I always do.
Yep.
The Clarisy, you're using the Gen 3.
Yes. On one, I have a
Uh,
Gen 2 and a 3 on one on each tank.
I'm going to miss the, sort of the bypass.
Yep.
So I'm gonna install my Gen 3 again, probably when I come back from all my travels.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have the Red Sea,
How do you like it?
and I like it. The roll is very expensive, more expensive than the Clarisy.
Mm-hmm.
I like the app functionality. To change the rolls, you kind of have to put your hands in it, which it's okay. I got big hands and you can go into it.
Yep.
There was a way I was trying to save money on rolls, which is I saw a YouTube video a couple weeks ago where someone said, "Hey, you can get like rolls," and it's working fine.
Mm-hmm.
I just came across a couple of issues. One, I now realize why the Red Sea Reef Mat roll is like so thick. It's coated with a material that makes it easier for the motor to pull it through. Like the Clarity has the guides.
Yeah.
It's made because I actually bought like rolls from someone, which is just standard filter rolls.
Mm-hmm.
The motor Oh, you changed my. Somebody said something changed my
Oh,
audio. Oh,
oh, I just hit refresh. You're good though.
yeah, it's all right.
Your
I'm
audio
sounding
was a little
good.
bit off of the video, so I just hit refresh. So I wonder if it did
All right,
something.
no problem. All right,
Okay.
if it goes off, yeah, but it has difficulty pulling it through.
Hmm.
So I wonder if, yeah. So listen, it's working fine. It's just
Hmm.
off because the motor is pull when the motor spins once, it's expected to pull it an inch.
Yeah.
It's pulling it, it takes more effort, so it's pulling it half of what it thinks. So it's just a little weird. So the motor's working stronger, working
Hmm.
more, and I suspect it's not going to last as long. So that's just one interesting thing. So I know some people are going to see the video and it's going to absolutely work for them. Just realize that there's a reason why the Red Sea rolls are coated.
I didn't know they were
They
coded. That's interesting.
Because they feel heavy. They feel a lot heavier, and they're they're about as heavy. All right, let's talk about. Let me give the benefits. Let me not sound like I'm slagging off Red Sea. If it was a tank, it'd be different, but it's a filter roll, so
Yeah.
Um, it's app controlled, which I
Hmm.
think is awesome because it alerts you of problems.
Yeah. That's
Um,
nice.
yeah, I think that's one of the benefits. It's bigger. Um, it's a lot more. I guess if you have problems with, I've in all my years of owning a Clarisy, I've never had issue with a jammed roll.
Hmm.
But in case there's a jam roll, you can actually stick your hands in it because it's wide enough. On the flip side, I think sometimes the app is really annoying. Like sometimes when it says jam, you just click resume and it works. It wasn't really a jam.
Yep.
Um, and I wish there was some kind of bypass, but you can build one. But I think it's a really, and it stinks. Like honestly, the roll stinks versus a Clarisy because I think the Clarisy roll is manufactured to stay dry. There's something with the Clarisy roll where it never stinks. Like I've used Clarisy for years and I've never had an issue with it stinking. The
Huh.
Red Sea
Yeah, I haven't.
stinks.
With interesting. See, I've never used the Red Sea. I haven't tried with the Clarisy, but it's yeah, I've never really noticed any smells or anything. Like surprisingly, I
But
thought
but
there would be more.
you've used it for like I thought before I got a Clarisy. Now I remember you said you're the one that sort of told me that there's no smell, but there was points where now Clarisy has this tool where you can just easily eject the roll from the used roll.
Oh, the little pipe
Yeah,
thingy.
yep. Before back in the day, I remember I would have to take razor blades and like cut. I've never experienced any smell. Like sometimes there'd be
Yeah,
saw creep, but I've never experienced any smell. So whatever they have with the roll, it does dry. It makes it easier to dry.
that's fair. Do you?
The Red Sea doesn't. It's literally. I have videos. I'll text it to you after where the Red Sea roll is finished and I
Mhm.
squeeze it and it's almost like the Bible story where you squeeze water from it. I feel like I'm like.
So it's not drying out properly, and that's why
It's
it's.
not. No, it's not
Ah,
drying out.
it's probably whatever that coating is preventing it. I bet you.
And I also don't know if it's because I run so much flow and the tank is big. And guys,
Yeah.
I work in marketing, so I am okay with people taking liberties with the ratings. But my gosh, the ratings for a Red Sea reef mat, how much flow. I was trying to talk to like Greg and a few other people on if it's even possible with it's a 1 inch drain. It's a 1 inch hole,
Yeah.
and it's not under pressure. It's gravity, and they're saying you can do 2,400 gallons per hour. I think the only way you get 2,400 gallons per hour is if you connect a pump to it and you push 2,400 gallons per hour through it. So the ratings for it is absolutely bonkers.
According to my quick Google, who knows if this is right? 1 inch drain typically around 550 to 700 gallons per hour.
Yeah,
So that's a little off.
yeah. Yeah, so someone said Barry Goss Jr. When I first got it, Dev, I used to get so many alerts, and there
Mm.
was a software update, and I think the software update did something where it works perfect. It works great.
Yeah.
Like some of the recent issues I have is because I'm using the aftermarket roll. So listen, that's
Mm.
the issue you get with the aftermarket roll.
That's fair.
But it's a solid unit. I like it.
Yeah.
My biggest issue with it is the rolls are more expensive than a Clarisy,
Fair.
and it absolutely smells.
That's a big one. That's a harder one to bite.
Yeah. Maybe if someone was using less flow and your roll was rolling up slower.
Hmm.
So, and then Dev, because it has an app, you can optimize. You can say, oh, I used 4 feet of rolls today. Maybe I need to slow my flow down. And
That's
so
fair.
there's different things. And you can disassemble it and clean it without, so it's much easier to disassemble and clean than a Clarice. That's another thing.
Yeah, the clarity
Um,
is more of a pain for sure.
yeah.
So, okay. So Lee in the comments says the Clarity has a coating to stop smell. I remember hearing something like that when it first came out. I'm not aware of that, but I mean, it would make sense because I've never noticed any weirdness out of mine.
I just think the material is just really, I think the material has a
Better.
lot of holes in it and just
Hmm.
allows it to dry.
Okay.
And
Now,
I also think the portion, I think the distance, and by the way, this is something I'm thinking of on the fly. So guys in the chat, let me know. I'm now looking at, I have screen here when I'm looking at Clarice and a Red Sea. I
yeah.
think the distance between a Clarice when it gets on the roll and a Red Sea is a little bit like might be a few inches. And I think that actually makes a difference in maybe how wet it gets when it's on the roll. So I think the Clarice has maybe 2 inches before it actually rolls up on the dirty side of the roll,
Yeah.
versus the Red Sea is maybe just an inch.
Okay. Interesting. So, yeah, that could be. You mentioned earlier too, but you missed the bypass. They'd be pretty easy to drill a hole and put like a little door in front of it.
Yeah, but it's so you're handy. I'm not handy. I want people to
Pull a
realize
saw.
that I'm not handy. I'm only handy. I know what I know because of reefing. Like it's not the I didn't take my DIY skills to reefing. I actually learned any DIY skills I have I learned from
From
reefing. Like
reaping.
I paid a guy to like hook up my plumbing once, and then I'm like, let me try. And of
Yeah.
course, we all made that mistake where you forgot to glue one piece of pipe and it worked for months. And then one time you're working in the sump and you like separated the pipe and you're like, oh, I forgot to glue that one piece. But I've been, I remember years ago, Dev, when I got a new refrigerator, I
Hmm.
actually hired someone to come. The guy was going to come in a few days to call my ice maker.
Yeah.
And when the ice maker kit came, I realized like, oh, shoot,
This
this is
looks like
just
RODI.
RODI. It is literally the blue RODI tubing. So
Yep.
you know what I did? I drilled holes under my sink. I
Hmm.
create the tap. Literally, the tap to tap the sink was something I already did for my RODI systems. I just bought another
Perfect.
tap, tapped it,
Yep.
and I did my ice maker myself. So you
Beauty.
know, yeah. Yeah. So anyway, like I know some things come easy to you. Like, hey, drill a hole in it. It's the opposite for me. Like
There.
I am not. I'll do it, but I'm not comfortable.
If I visit one day, I'll help you. I'll teach you. You'll be a pro.
Yeah. No, I get through it. I absolutely do it. Like I drill. My last DIY project a couple of weeks ago was making. I upgraded my kids have a 25 lagoon,
Hmm.
and in a rage of madness last year, I cut out the back chamber and decided I just wanted a big lagoon with. And
Hmm.
then I was like, no, you need filtration. So I added, like hang on the back filters and the sea chain. It just didn't work out. So the last weekend, my project was to drill it
Hmm.
with the what is it? The two little fishies exit X in and
Yeah.
out. Works perfect. I bought a
Nice.
5-gallon tank at
Did you drill it
Petco.
yourself?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, this is not
Nice.
my first tank. This is not my first tank. I'm just like my fourth tank. I tried
Nice.
to drill the sump, and then I
Hmm.
tried to drill the sump and do a float valve, and I broke 2 tanks before I drilled it. But they were on sale for $8 at Petco, so I
That's
don't.
not bad.
And then the ATO, when you're drilling those really small Petco tanks, the key is to let the drill do the work. If you push on it, oh, done.
Yeah, the glass is
So
thin.
yeah,
Lots of water and let the drill do the work.
yeah, it's a drill. It's the drill. It was me deciding like it's too long and I need to like punch through.
Yeah.
Um,
I always start it to at like a 45 to get that little bit of a notch, then slowly work it to like perpendicular. That also works too,
yep.
just so it doesn't skate around on you.
And and please guys don't laugh at me. I also realized the other day what the high speed on the drill is for. Like I just again I realized by pure accident. I was like, oh, when you're drilling glass, use the higher setting. I used the higher setting and it was able to like score the glass much easier than using the slow one. So
Interesting. Good to know.
Worked for me.
Perfect.
So,
That's
so
what
I drilled a
matters.
tank. I
Yep.
use like one of those AI pumps as the return pump. There is
Nice.
no, there
The
is
access.
no, yes, the
Yep.
big one. There is no, I'm not going to do filter socks. I had
Hmm.
my old Bubble King that I was trying to sell,
Yep.
and I kept getting lowball to it. So I took it to my LFS, and he had like a used Nios sitting there. So I'm like, hey, I'll trade you a Bubble King for a Nios. I know it's not a fair trade, but my Bubble
Yep.
King is way older. And so now I'm going to run that tank, no filter socks,
Nice.
and and an IO skimmer, and
Perfect.
that's how we're going to run it. I know.
Nice. That'll be good. Ah, that's cool. You, Julie. I'll send me photos of that one later.
All right, it's going to
You,
work out.
yep. You create a big make work project by just removing the back chamber, but it's at least nice to have the space of a sump to do stuff.
Yeah, it did. I don't. I think that tank just got neglected by me,
That,
and
that, that happens.
but the sump with the skimmer actually gives it more leeway
Hmm.
for when you have one of those little internal filters. I think you have a lot less leeway with things.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yep.
How do you like the little access pumps?
I like them. I think the first one I bought, it's a little undersized. I wish I could. I wish I could like show you guys. I got a eShops um, tank that I drilled. Anyway, the first access pump I got, I undersized it.
Hmm.
So the next time for this tank, I oversized. I bought the biggest one, and it's
Yep.
fine. I
Nice.
I like them. They fit really well into the back chamber of
Hmm.
these little things, and they're AI controllable. You don't have a power brick, which I absolutely love. I don't. I think we underestimate the fact that you do not have. I remember when the Nero 7 came out,
Hmm.
one of my drawbacks was, hey, there's a big power brick. There's a big, I don't know what you call it, the thing that you plug into the
Yeah, the brick or the wall wart, whatever you want to call it.
wall wart.
Yeah.
But that absolutely makes up for you not having to deal with a power supply, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
that's fair. There,
So
that's fair. I put the middle one, the mid side, the 40 in my 14 gallon, and I'm running at like 50% or 60% or something. And it's great because I don't need any power heads in there because it's like a good chunk of flow for it now.
yeah, I
So
like
that
it.
works out pretty well. Yeah,
I like
it's great.
him. I like him. I
It's good.
think I think for these, so at work I got one of those Max McDice tanks.
Hmm.
In that one I have a CJ because
Oh,
the pump broke on it,
yep. A question.
and yeah.
How do you like having a tank at work? Like, it's nice to have one, but how is like dealing with like water changes periodically and stuff?
So, I think it's fine. I think it's a so yeah, we are those people, aren't we? So I do have an Apex on the tank at work, and I have an Apex because it's a corporate environment and the Wi-Fi has a you get knocked off at every certain time. It's
Hmm.
not forever. So I actually got an Apex
Yeah.
that because it's a wired plug. It has
Yeah.
wired internet. So it works fine. I have an auto feeder. I keep it
Hmm.
really simple. No skimmer, no nothing, just a filter sock.
Hmm.
An auto feeder that feeds every day, not the Neptune auto feeder because that would be too loud for an office. Um,
Understandable.
and then what I do is there's a Petco around the corner, and then once a month, once every 2 months, I'll just go to Petco and just get the jug of salt water.
Hmm.
And when you do the water change, you're doing like a 60% water change
Yeah, that's
because
fair.
I think if I add a skimmer, it's just going to add more complexity to the tank.
I agree.
Um, it has a Kessel A80 on it.
Hmm.
It has a Nero on it because I think if the return pump fails, then I'm in trouble. So I
Hmm.
actually have a Nero on the tank to like deliver flow.
Yep.
So
Nice.
it's been working out so far for me. It's been 4 months and it's working out fine.
Solid.
Yeah.
M-
If
My,
I think for you it'll be easier because then you can bring salt water from home.
I
I just
can
go
just to
to
be if I
yeah,
want to.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um I just go to, there's like a Dwayne Reed and a Target around the corner, and I get distilled water. And that's what I
Mhm.
fill the RO. That's what I fill the top off water up in.
Okay, that makes sense. I would we had like the bottled water jugs at work, so I could just snag that for refilling my ATO, but or would just put like a glass lid on it so there's very little evaporation.
Ooh, that's a good point.
Yeah. That's have like a little hole for the food to go through, and you'd have little bits of things, but it'd massively cut down on evaporation.
What about the polycarbonate?
Yeah, that'd work too. Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
You can buy
Okay.
those little like inset lids, those little clips you put on the side, and just inset the lid a little bit. Then you don't have to worry about any drips. And I've
That's
been
fair.
pondering this one for a while now, the whole work tank thing. The other thought was like I just get an RODI unit and install it under the sink at work.
That work. That'll work.
Yep. Yes, I don't know. There's potential.
You should do it. You should do it.
I might. I gotta find a cool stand for it though if I do that.
I just put it on the desk. I took over someone's desk, put it on the desk. Um,
Perfect.
I I would, in a perfect world, I would have preferred an acrylic tank
Yeah.
because then, if chances are, right now I've been able to relieve the tank for 2 weeks at a time.
Yep.
But in a perfect world, if I needed to bring it home, it would have been nice to, um, hey,
Fair.
just be able to empty it, bag the stuff up, and walk with the acrylic tank.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, that's fair.
I think it's fine. I think the tank can survive 2 weeks without me.
Yeah, that's a pretty good stretch. I'm battling cyano in mine, so once it's pristine and happy, one day I'll maybe bring it in.
Yeah, I'm gonna go into the office tomorrow. One of the things I'm gonna do is a water change. So
Nice. All right, you inspired me. It might happen. It's funny, the nano's getting more packs a leak as I empty stuff out of this tank. I was like, we'll just throw those mushrooms in there. Let's throw that toadstool in there. So my Gagne tank is getting slightly invaded as I empty my big tank. Thanks,
someone
Lee.
is
Hit that like
asking.
button.
Someone just asked if anyone is using eShop's Florida 9. I think that's the one I have. Yeah, that is the one I have. So I have the eShop's Florida 9, and what I did is I drilled a third chamber and put a bulkhead in it,
Mm-hmm.
and bulkhead, and it drains into the sump, and then there's a pump pumping water from my sump back to the tank, and the return pump still runs. Um, yeah, it's been working out great.
Nice. That's pretty cool.
I thought it would have been taken over by algae because it's so small you can't put a tang in it, but it's been working well.
Yeah, that's good. So far, so good. Okay, question from a few minutes back. Jay, ICP just got back. Don't really want to spend a bunch of money on individual trace elements for making small tweaks. Which trace elements need to be perfect levels in your experience? Thank you. What's out of whack, I guess, is a better question. As long as stuff is like close to the range, I wouldn't worry about it too much. But if you're completely depleted or completely out of whack on something, then it might be worth adjusting it. Now, this is the caveat if you never do water changes, right? At the flip side, maybe you just do a big water change and it kind of resets things a bit and you don't worry about it. So it depends on the tank size and how often you actually do water changes.
I think you've heard this story from me many times before, but once I got a Triton test back and everything was out of whack, I just bought a bottle of Tropic Marin and did like a huge water change, like a 50%, then a 50%, then a 50%,
Yep.
and everything was back to normal. It would have taken like about $200 to get initial upfront cost to get the chemicals to be able to adjust everything that was needed.
Yep.
So a water, at the time, Tropic Marin was like $80.
Mm-hmm.
So a big thing of Tropic Marin with big water changes just did what I needed to do.
Ooh, Sparkly, thank you for the super chat. Mighty kind.
Canadian too.
All right.
How about that, eh?
No. Thank you. So the big thing that I always think of is how much you spend on an ICP test.
$50.
How much you spend on a thing of salt.
Me, $50.
So for the price that it would take you to test your tank, you could spend that and just buy salt and do a big water change and just reset stuff to a certain extent, right? Do 2 big water changes and you more or less reset things. rather than spending money on a test than spending money on the elements to fix it, just proactively fix it for the, roughly the same cost. So that's always where my mind kind of goes to. If you have a massive tank, for sure. If you're completely against doing water changes, okay, for sure. But, just periodically, just doing a few big ones does kind of reset things to a certain extent.
True.
Especially if you
Agreed.
don't want to buy a bazillion little bottles of elements to dose and deal with. So that's always my thought.
100% agree.
Mm-hmm. Thank you again, Sparkly. Much appreciated. Hit that like button, people. Thanks, Lee. And Jay. Worried as well when I swapped a tank over before and lost everything. Would you swap over, Haley? I missed the first half of that comment.
Oh my gosh, Haley.
Yep, I know.
I want to go back to a comment that one our reefer said.
Yep.
He said he has the mid-sized Thielen roller mat, and that was about 3 to 4 inches from the water, and the roll stayed wet, same as the Red Sea. So he thinks it's down to the Clarity roll, something with the Clarity roll.
That's the only one I've used, so it's the only one I have personal experience with, but I've never had an issue with mine. Like, they've been pretty solid. They're a bit of a pain to change the roll if you don't catch it. If you catch it when it's almost done, I always just use a stapler and staple the new roll to the old roll and just yank it through, and that's really easy. But if you don't catch it, then it's a bit of a pain to feed it through. That's the only mini gripe with it. But otherwise, I think it's great.
Yeah. Woo. Wow. Okay. I wish the Clarity, I think the next iteration of the Clarity needs to have some kind of app enabled thingy to just tell you. That's the only thing that's missing.
Tell you when the roll's almost done?
Yep.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know if... Yeah, I guess. It's nice to have. Yeah, that's fair.
I know you can look at it, but,
I know that's what I do. Every once in a while I look at it. You're like, that's good.
If you're... you know what? I've never, with the Clarity, there were times when, before when I first got it, I forgot to program. So, hey, when I turn off the return pump, turn off the float valve. So there's been times when I use roll that I shouldn't, but I've never had an issue. Like, I know people have had issues with the roll, with the motor burning out. Did I think once after like 3 years, but the motor has a lot of torque. To pull things through. So I've never had any. Man, when I took my Clarity to clean it, there were like sponges everywhere and like vermitid snails everywhere. And guess what? Still pulled the roll through.
Yeah, still pretty solid. Well, that's all right. Yeah, I can't say I've ever really had an issue. It's been good. I think 50 to 60 days of nudibranch starting to take a hold of that Tasia. Yeah, you basically need them to make babies, wait for the babies to grow up, them to start eating it, and then it really starts to see a difference. But yeah, it's definitely a few months to really see the power of the nudies.
Can't find any.
Yep. Jay, thank you. What's the best way of keeping trace elements at a constant level if dosing Core Essentials 3-part contains all trace? How would you calculate? If you are dosing trace, it is worth doing... Okay, this is where it's worth doing an ICP test periodically. If you are dosing your trace elements, you kind of got to ballpark it off the recommendations, dose it for a month or two, and then do an ICP test and see if your levels are, consistent, or are they going down or they're going up, and then you just dose a little more or dose a little less based off that. Every tank's kind of different because different curls take up different trace elements, so it's hard to say exactly, but you kind of just got to ballpark it and do a test or two and then compare it. True. But at the end of the day, are the levels going up? Are they going down? Or are they staying the same? And just dose a little more, dose a little less, or keep it as is. Yeah. I think that's the easiest way to do it.
What's your 2-part of choice?
I've used so many of them, it's hard to say. I'm using a 1-part, aka Alpha Reef on my Nano. I'm using like 3 or 4 different methods on my big tank. It's the special blend.
What's the special blend?
Oh my gosh. There is the calcium reactor, there is Kalkwasser, there is sodium hydroxide and calcium, and then there's Alpha Reef.
Sodium hydroxide?
Not recommended, nasty stuff.
But yes. That's the stuff that's lye.
Yeah. Not recommended, nasty stuff. Walter White style mixing it. It's very
Now
caustic.
Why?
Why? Because in my obsession of pH times, it was magical for pH. because it essentially bonds to the carbonic acid in the water, which removes the stuff that lowers the pH in your tank.
Agreed. Kalkwasser does that, and it's a lot less risky.
Mm-hmm. That's why I don't recommend it. It works, but again, you got to wear gloves and goggles and mix it outside. And
I do have some. I just use it to kill Aptasia.
that's right. Do you know what's funny? It is extremely nasty stuff, but they use it in making soap. It's like there's nasty. Yeah, it just makes me laugh because that's what lye is primarily used for.
Once I went to like killing Aptasia and didn't pay attention to how much, my alk spiked from like 8 to 11.
Oh yeah, it definitely boosts it up. What happened to potassium hydroxide? Potassium hydroxide also works any hydroxide works well. But again, when I was doing it, my potassium got far too high after a while. So I do sometimes mix a little bit with the sodium hydroxide and do a bit of a blend of the two. I have a little concoction I came up with. But again, it's not something I'd necessarily recommend to most people.
Agreed.
Yep. Sam, thank you for the content. I've learned a lot by watching your videos. Your tank is crystal clear in your video. Are you running UV sterilizer 24/7? Thanks, Sam. I use my UV on and off. I actually turned it on yesterday for the first time in probably 6 months. I primarily use ozone for water clarity. There's a filter roller and then ozone. And that's most of my clarity. I literally just turned the UV back on just to see if it would let me clean the glass less. That's really the only reason. But in general, I find I get more benefit from the ozone than I do the UV, and it takes less power to run it. So the ozone's kind of like the main go-to for me.
You remind me, I got to turn off my UV. I mainly use it like whenever to like fish pathogen down, but I haven't added any new fish in a while, so I can probably turn it off. I'm looking for it now on my the crazy people who use multiple controllers. So
that's
where is the ozone?
Hey, I did that for a long time as I was testing stuff out.
What were you testing?
Oh, just when I had like multiple different brands on the same.
Oh, you had yeah.
Florida, skimming the chat, so if I'm missing any questions. But yeah, so I don't know. Overall, yeah, I am curious to see because I do feel like I clean my glass a little more than I should, but I also have a lot of pretty high elevated nutrients right now, so that's likely why. So curious to see if the UV makes any noticeable difference or not. But even the one beside me, I still have to clean the glass every couple days. It seems to be unavoidable. Speaking of potassium, wonder if tangs would eat bananas. I'm pretty sure I've seen videos of some fish eating bananas and like lettuce and random stuff.
Yeah, I've seen people feed them lettuce, bok choy, and a bunch of things. Yeah. I don't know if that's...
I mean, I'm sure it doesn't hurt, but like back in the freshwater days, I used to do like blanch cucumbers and random stuff like that for the shrimp, and I just go to town on it.
Yeah, well, when you feed I've seen people. There was a guy on YouTube a long time ago. I think his name was ReefDudes. I think you remember.
Yeah,
he had some crazy. Yeah, so he used to bok choy and a bunch of different greens. And thank you, got coffee. Yes. Bunch of different greens in his tank, and his tanks would absolutely eat it. I don't know if it was safe. Safe as in.
I think as long as it's, I would be more like make sure it's organic, not pesticides stuff on it. That'd be more my bigger worry in a reef tank, because you don't want to add any of the other that type of stuff into it. But I think you're probably okay.
Yeah, I mean, I get my seaweed in bulk off of Amazon, Nori.
Yep,
I think it's fine.
Yeah, I just go to the Asian supermarket and buy sushi nori. You just got to make sure it's roasted, unseasoned. Yeah, nothing on it. That's the last one I bought. Straight up nori.
Barry Gossett, that's typical calc living in Florida. I have plenty of evaporation. Yeah. I remember Jake Adams lived in Colorado, and he got a ton because the air is dry. He got a ton of evaporation. So Kalkwasser worked for him. I'm assuming that when he said he's in Florida, it's because it's so humid, it's inside. He's running AC, and it's probably removing a lot of moisture from the air, and therefore the tank. So I wonder what size tank it is. 75 liters. I evaporate about 10 liters a day, and from a 150-ish. So
yeah, kind of depends. It changes throughout the year. I don't know. I'm usually a good gallon and a bit-ish for mine.
Okay, it's not too bad.
Yeah. Dave Hamilton. Devin, how can I set up ozone without using my skimmer? Ozone cracked the silencer on my skimmer and I had to replace it. So some skimmers are either made with cast or extruded acrylic. I never remember which one's which, but one of them's fine for ozone and one gets very brittle to ozone. So you likely have the acrylic that is not a fan of ozone.
Generally, or maybe just a part of it. That part that cracked is not a fan of ozone.
It could be. So, I mean, you can buy dedicated ozone reactors and use that. I've always just used a skimmer personally. You could probably run it through like a limewood air stone and do micro bubbles in the tank. I don't know if I necessarily would. If you did, I'd do it in the overflow or somewhere, so it has lots of time to work it through the system before it gets to your actual tank. But yeah, personally, I've only ever really used skimmers. Nick, cast acrylic is ozone safe. Thank you, Nick. I've been like back and forth on which one's which for ages. I never remember which is which.
Cast acrylic.
Yep.
Yeah, I always want to leave myself open to the possibility of using ozone, so I always check to make sure.
Yep.
Ozone safe, but I mean every ozone, like from the major manufacturers,
yes,
is ozone safe. No, is ozone safe? I think
most
so.
of them. Yeah. But yeah, it's just magic for water clarity. If you never used it, even I know some people only run it like 20 minutes a night. I think mine runs for an hour or two, but it just depends on the concentration. But it just makes your water crystal clear. That and a filter roller and your fish are floating. It's a cool look.
Definitely. I don't clean my glass as often, maybe once a week. So I get it though. I get it that but I like now on a Sunday afternoon when I'm finished doing stuff, I clean my glass. And I sit down. Right now behind me, I've had a couch right in front of my tank now. So I sit down, and that is my time to relax and enjoy the tank.
It's good. If you do that every week, it's good. I used to do it a lot more than I do now. I need to take some time to enjoy it a little more.
Yeah, when you're busy.
Yep, it happens. Silicone tube on skimmer when using ozone as well. There you go. Yeah, no, it's true. I think the new office tank's going to be pretty sweet because it's going to be taller as well. So it'll be like perfect view right beside the desk. Be more immersive as I'm sitting here.
Lucky you, man. Lucky you.
And should I move like...
Yes.
You didn't even let me ask. Move in like my hammers and random stuff temporarily until the tank kind of gets more established and then evict them?
Yes. Why not?
I don't know.
Yeah, you bring in the corals, whatever bacteria or whatever they have with them. The new fancy word that's going around, the biome. They bring their biome with them.
Yep, that's fair. I know. I was so gung ho on starting fresh. I'm like, nothing will be in until it's like cherry picked. But at the same time, it's like it probably would bring in some goodness to put some stuff in and then just evict them later and swap it out. Yeah.
I have those little starfish that are on everything. I'm starting to hate them now. I wonder if I should get like a harlequin shrimp.
They do work well. They will definitely do the job.
Yeah.
I had one years ago and he was freaking amazing. Then I ran out. I lent it to someone else and never got it back. But they were such a good little hunter. They're awesome. But yeah, it's like interesting. Like even looking at my nano, it's like there's no bristleworms, there's no aptasia, like there's none of the common pests. The only thing in there's a little feather dusters, but that came out on a frag. But yeah, you got to think, as you move stuff from tank to tank, what are you introducing? The good and the bad. Is it worth it? And all these little considerations, right?
I have a copper band.
Yep.
And I don't get feather dusters. So a long time ago, I went to years ago when you had a Reefapalooza, the last Reefapalooza, Chicago. I went to Alex's house, and Alex G gave me a piece of rock with feather dusters. And in my refugium where nothing is, and there's this rock, there is Aptasia, and there's feather dusters competing for space. But in the display, you don't ever see them. I think as soon as they pop up, the copperman eats them.
Interesting.
Yeah, there was once I moved a rock from the sump to the tank, and I saw him go to town on him. So he loves them.
Yeah. Oh,
probably one of the reasons I'm able to keep him alive, because whenever they pop up, he'll eat them. But in my sump, them and the Aptasia, every year or so, when I put like a nudibranch in or a couple nudibranchs in, the nudibranchs will eradicate the Aptasia. Of course, there's Aptasia in the pipe, so they come back.
Yep.
But and then the feather dusters just thrive.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, hopefully my upper band's all good. I have like a decent sized one in the tank beside me, so they'll be moving to the new tank. Such cool fish. I love them. All right. Maybe I'll just move in some of this coral and stop delaying my transfer soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of want to get it rolling. That'll be nice.
I think you should.
That'll be good. Copper band cleared all my feather dusters. It's a little too big to put my nano to test that theory. He'll move a couple curls in and see if he goes for it. Than loves Astrina. Will you guys be at RAP this weekend? Are you going to RAP?
Yes.
Nice.
I am going to be helping my friend out, the aquarium shop. I'll be at his booth most of the time, but yes, nice. I'll be at RAP.
Yeah, very cool. I will not be. I have my kid's birthday this weekend, so definitely won't be RAP. PRS has Trident NP back in stock. What do you think of the Trident NP? Have you have one or no?
I'm not. I tested manually.
Yeah.
I don't have it.
I've been doing that recently. Just as to like, oh, it's funny the phosphate disappears. Yeah, I've been doing that recently just to like compare results and stuff. So it's the most manual testing I've done in my life.
All right.
Need a nano fish to eat Aptasia. Yeah. Nudibranchs are your only bet on something tiny for that one. Astrina eat coralline like crazy. Have had some bare spots on my rock now. That's funny. I see that with the tuxedo urchins as well. Always makes me laugh when you have caked in coralline. You'll have this like white strip where he went by. Hydro Solo thoughts. Let me Google it so I know which one that one is. I think that's the nano one, but Hydro Solo.
Isn't that the one that's that's the one like a Comore, right?
I think so. Why am I not finding it? Soul. Oh, Soul, not Solo. That's one. Okay. Oh, yes. That's the Comore cell pump. Probably is a Comore head. Okay, so it's basically like a Comore dosing pump. That's a cool addition to the lineup. It's basically like a Comore that's controllable is my guess on it. Looks heavier duty. It'd probably be good for like calcium reactor type of situations. I think it's probably a good solution. Coming soon. $2.99. And it's super quiet. Super quiet is very important in dosing pump, so I appreciate that one.
It's a Comore. It's like a Comore, right?
I don't know. It looks like
so.
The tubing looks like
doesn't.
a Comore too.
It doesn't look like a Comore. I think it's going to be a Comore.
Well,
hydros.
A lot of the other hydros pumps are basically Comore pump heads, aren't they?
I guess.
I think so. At least they look like they are. Maybe they're not, but a lot of them look like they are. If you look at the Comore pumps, you look at those, and a lot of the heads look the same. So I just assume
would say so.
I could be wrong.
That's fair.
Yeah. Yes, they're a Comore head. See? I knew it.
I had a Comore X1T Pro, and you're right. The X10, which I use, looks exactly like a. Yes, I would have agreed with that. I just wasn't sure enough to say yes with any level of certainty.
I had high confidence. Dedicated Reefer, thank you for the $5 super chat. Much appreciated.
So the Comore, because I have no insider info, but I was wondering, CoralView distributes Comore, and this is a competing product, so that was in the back of my head. But I guess I guess everyone else does it, so I think it's fine. If you're buying the parts from your partner anyway, I guess
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
Well, if you look at a lot of the add-ons, they are basically just rebranded other products made to do with it, right? Like it's a lot cheaper and easier to bring a product out if all you do is change the connector and a couple tweaks to it to make it work with your product, right? So it makes sense.
Are you saying they didn't give an entire spiel about why this is?
What?
I just remember hilariously. No, I get what you mean, and I think I commend them for saying that. I just remember back in the day, right, when Neptune Systems came out with the Grow, and there was this whole spiel about how it's optimized for the right spectrum. I'm like, dude, that is a rebranded Z-Lite, because I literally had the Z-Lite in my hands, and it was hilarious. Like,
so here's the question: did they change any of the diodes, or did they just change the housing?
Oh, in fact, it had less features because the Z-Lite had onboard controls where you could ramp it up and ramp it down. And no offense, like I think there are benefits to the Grow. The fact is it doesn't take up a plug. It uses like a DC 24 port, which, you know, is valuable to Neptune users because EV8 space is at a premium. I'm just saying that launch, I just remember that one as being,
that's fair.
You know, funny.
Yeah. I mean, so many companies do it, but yeah, I agree. Yeah, look, clicking through some of them, like I'm just looking at a lot of the stuff. Like a lot of the parts a lot of them do it, right? You can tell, like it's the same as another product, right? It's just their own tweaked version.
That's fine.
But like, why would someone rebuild a flow fell, right? You just put on your own connector and make it work with yours. You know, there's probably only like 5 companies that make them, right? Just resell to everyone else at the end of the day, which is a lot of stuff.
Love it. I love it. And I think eventually they you know, the messaging later was, hey, if we can partner with companies to do this, like, I think it's fair. Like, I don't think you need to recreate the wheel with a Refugium light. There are some companies with, like, listen, I think the Tunzi Refugium light is absolutely cool because it's small form factor. And the fact is, it's air cooled, but when you put it underwater, when you put it underwater, you actually get some more wattage because then it's water cooled. So the light output goes up.
Does it work well?
Yeah, you didn't know that? Like, yes, the Eco Chic, when you put it on the water, it actually outputs more wattage because then it's water cooled.
Perfect. I debated getting one and trying to put it underneath Chaeto in my Refugium. I should do a Refugium again, but put it underneath the Chaeto just to try and get more growth out of it. Like, I wonder how well that would work just to light the bottom. So long term, no issues being fully submerged for you?
No. I really think it's waterproof.
Yeah,
and it actually works better when it's water cooled. It's made it actually puts out more light. Like, you see it. There's a Jake Adams video when you put it on the water, after a few seconds the light output gets better.
That's kind of cool. All right, I might try one day. I might, given the fact that I've had nutrients, actually I should get the Refugium rolling again. So
One Armed Reefer said it goes from 9 to 13 watts. And he said he's run it for 2 years underwater. Yeah, they're waterproof.
Yeah, that's kind of a cool appeal because, like, you'd have less light spill in your sump, and you could bottom light it, which would be kind of cool.
You could light it from the bottom and the top.
I know. Maybe I'll get 2 and try. All right, I guess I'm starting Refugium again. It's a good excuse to deal with my nutrients. The funny thing is, for a while there, my nutrients were so low that my Chaeto just slowly faded away because I had no nutrients to feed it anymore. And then I just never bothered, like, kicking it back up. And then eventually it came to bite me in the butt from being elevated nutrients again.
You know, so earlier in the conversation, we need to do a little bit better of, like, paying attention to the chat. I feel like you and I are just, like, geeking out. But earlier in the chat, I spoke about high phosphates.
Yeah.
What I suspect happened is I've been blaming it on, I thought I spilled some food in the tank, but in the context of everything, like, that shouldn't have spiked my phosphates. What I think happened is somewhere along the line, I don't know why I made the decision, but I sort of turned off I have a blade white as my Refugium light, and somehow I decided months ago to put it on an elevated tank rest, which I think is cool.
Yeah.
I think lazy me didn't want to move, so I turned off my manifold and like removed the, like once it's closed off, you can remove the union because it's a true union like ball valve.
Yeah.
So what happens is the refugium, like my overflow and my chiller, and there's other things that drain into the refugium section. But what I realized, Devin, is that it just didn't have enough flow, and the Chaeto died.
Oh, interesting.
It had. So what happened? What happened last week is I don't even remember why I put it back on for a different reason and turned it on. And when I looked at it 2 days ago, listen, my phosphate drops, but I don't think that's why the Chaeto is starting to grow at an incredible pace again. Like it was dying to the point where it was stringing, and you touch it and it would like explode.
Yeah.
When I told you I saw feather dusters in there, like there were my refugium. I was getting about 3 every month. I would pull about 5 pounds of after you drive the Chaeto and you weighed it. I would get about 5 pounds of Chaeto out of my refugium every month. And it just died.
Yeah.
But
now,
I think it was just flow.
You think it was flow or lack of nutrients that killed it off?
I think it was not lack of nutrients.
Okay.
And I think the flow. I'm trying to find a video of the last time I harvested, but I think it was flow. I think this is my Chaeto. I used to harvest this every month, and that's it with an MP40 wet side on the back.
That's a good chunk.
Yeah. That is, yes.
I need that to restock mine.
I think there wasn't enough flow because I looked in there the other day and I looked in there today, and again, it looks like it's growing again. So again, I think it was just not enough flow.
Yeah. Nick, thanks for the super chat, buddy. Nutrient Control Fund donation. It's the Chaeto Fund now.
Yeah.
Or the Eco Chic Fund, one of the two. Hey,
Tidal Garden says no wrap for me this weekend. I'm having my guest here. Hey, Thad.
Yep.
I'm trying to convince my wife to come to Cleveland so I can visit Tidal Gardens. Now, nice. I'm going to text. I need somebody to tell me what's fun things to do in Cleveland, because she's asking me, what do I do in Cleveland when you're looking at fishy stuff? And I don't have a good answer. So I need someone in and around. I can't use Akron because I guess she's read enough LeBron James story to know that's not a great area. So please, someone from Cleveland, tell me what my wife can do in Cleveland for a full day, why I go look at fishy stuff.
A Rock Hall of Fame, apparently.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, he said Akron is a lot nicer than Cleveland. See, it's just, I guess when you're looking at the LeBron James like origin story, it makes it sound like he grew up in the middle of nowhere, Akron. So I need to thank you for that. I need to tell her that.
Yep. We'll get the highlight rule. We'll find you a good excuse.
He said Akron is a lot nicer than Cleveland. Yeah, she thinks like Akron is. Yeah. Okay. I'll figure it out. Trying to. We take a couples trip every year.
And 5 minutes from where he was born. 5 minutes from his mansion.
Wait. So Akron. Wait, something's not adding up. Again, when you... All right. 5 minutes from his mansion and 5 minutes from where he was born. All right.
There you go. The Tidal Gardens Coral Mansion. It's in the vicinity.
All right. I have a feeling, take my wife and we visit Tidal Gardens. She's going to come back and look at my wire mess and say, why can't you be like that?
And she'll be like, why is your tank so loud? Dan has 80 tanks and I don't hear a single thing.
You know the crazy thing is,
what?
Our wives, they behave. I don't know if your wife, let me know if this match. The more wives behave like someone sending me a message distracted me. They act like they don't pay attention, but they actually pay attention a lot more than you think. I don't know if
notice.
they'll notice.
If a
So my
fish
wife
changes or
yes,
coral, they notice.
they might not even say it at the point.
But eventually the comment will come out and you know that they secretly pay
Right.
attention.
At the point, they will even know the videos. When I'm watching something, she'll be like, why are you still watching like these videos? Or she'll know like Jake Adams, or she'll like, isn't that Devin? Or she'll know like Fan's voice, and she'll know like Lou's voice. She'll know people's voices. So it's weird. So it's, you know, they might act like they're not paying attention, but they do.
You can't not. It's unavoidable. Does your wife like roller coasters? Theme park?
We could do that.
2 hours from here is the best roller coaster park in the world. The world, that's high stakes. What is it then?
Okay.
And I got to tell my wife I'm coming there too. We'll rendezvous one day. Be fun. Cedar Point.
Cedar Point.
I don't know if I've heard of that.
Cedar Point.
Looks cool.
Cedar Point Amusement Park in Ohio. Okay.
Very nice.
Why does it wait? Amusement park in Ohio. I know. Okay.
Is it 2 hours from here? So it might not be in Ohio specifically, but
yeah, for me it says Cedar Point, but then it's showing me a map of there's a Cedar Fair with Cedar Park. Cedar Fair is gonna merge with Six Flags.
There you go. It's in Ohio. It's doable.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
Good excuse.
All right.
See, you pretty much got her sold already.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
done.
I know. If we've skipped any questions in the chat, feel free to re-ask them, because I know we've been a little over the place today.
Just tell her you're going to go swimming in an underground swimming pool, and then can open up the lid for water storage. I like the creativity.
Yep. Enough roller coasters in the hobby without going to a park. Enough of that. Roller coasters are fun.
Dedicated Reefer said he's going to be at Bull Reef Aquaculture. We have a booth. All right. I'll check you out.
Nice.
I'll check you out. All right. I'll be there 3 days. I'll be there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yep.
Should be fun. I always have fun. Nick Seymour, I heard you got an X4. I did. Checking it out. This is not my first Dalua light. I forgot what the first version is. My biggest complaint at the time was that the software sucked. The software is better this time. Way better. Yes. But I can deal with software for lights, Dev, because I'm not messing with my lights.
Yeah.
No, I don't change it at all. I set it up 4 months ago, and I haven't touched it since.
So what do you think? Nick
I like it. It's well built. I like it. I like the fact that it's really versatile. For instance, if I decide I'm not going to run it in the future, I can swap the diodes out and add the refugium spectrum to it and use it as a freshwater refugium light. So it's nice and sleek and thin.
Yep.
And I really like it. It's heavy, but I like it.
How's the fan cooling noise?
I don't know if I've noticed it.
So it's quiet. Perfect.
Yeah.
Nice. I like it. Nick, the new app is much better, right? I've only seen the original app, so I haven't seen the new app.
Yeah, much better. Yeah, it's a good solid light, really solid light, and I think it's a good value. Whenever I'm looking at these things or I'm getting something else, I try to figure out where it fits within the ecosystem of other lights, and I like the spread. Haven't done any testing, but I think I like the spread. I also think the fact that it's $7.99 and a Radeon is $1,000. So I think with this light, I think it's only like 130, 140 watts or something to that effect, while a Radeon is 200 watts. But which of us actually runs our Radeon at 100%? I know very few people outside of Greg Carroll that actually get the maximum out of their Radeons, right? The most I've ever run my Radeons are like 50 or 60%. So yeah,
that's fair actually.
Yeah, so I think it's a good value. I think it's a good value for what it is.
Solid.
Yeah, I really do.
Yep. Did you try beast mode yet? Beast mode.
Who did that? No, I didn't. I
It's
didn't. I have it on a 25 lagoon, man. I don't even have real corals in the tank yet. So no, I haven't used beast mode yet.
Yeah.
But I did find my power meter the other day. So I am going to get. I am going to add. Yes, I'm going to try beast mode.
That's fair. No, the funny thing is with my Radions, because I put the narrow or high intensity, aka more of the G4 style lenses on it, and now I run them much lower percentage than I used to since I've done that, since I just upped the par probably. So I think I dropped them down 25-30%.
So
speaking of running it at full,
I burned some corals when I put it because I had my lights pretty high up. Mm-hmm. I think I burned some stuff. I don't know if it's I think I did, but I kind of backed out of it. I think I like the spread better.
That's fair. I mean, it depends. If I only had, 3 fixtures on the tank, then yeah, I'd be more for spread. But I had 5, which is overkill. So I was like, okay, I don't need all the spread. Yeah, X4 is Tulua. So the more intensity and then less light hitting the glass, my theory was I'd clean the glass less. But the more spread was definitely better for acros, right? Because you bounce a lot more off the glass and under light, the bottom side more. So it is a trade-off for sure. I've been debating that on the new tank. I think I still might do the narrow lens kit just because reduce the light spill. But.
Yeah, I thought about it, and I would try to step back. Oh, that's terrible. It's not good. But what I did is I tilted. I was messing with the Radions on the weekend, so that's why it's not. But I tilted the Radions back so they hang back. You know what I was trying to do? I was trying to look at the video. And then I actually have 2 diffusers. So I put 2 diffusers without the diffuser lens, which actually helps when I'm sitting in my couch. So I'm actually lower and in a different position than my couch. Hang on a second. Let me show you. Yep. I just double. Yep. I double them up. Hold on a sec.
Yeah, it's funny. I did the same thing on the office tank beside me.
Yep. So I've tested these, and this is the best. So you just double them up. I've used like 3 or 4 together, and you just double them up. You can see the middle light. You see how the middle light that I took this from have so much more light spill? Yep. Just double up. So people, you can double them up, triple them up. I'll try 3 or 4, and I think 2 works better.
Yep. I have just 1 on the tank beside me. It's just enough to hide the lenses from my view when I'm sitting, and that's good.
Yep.
Yeah, you can see.
Yep. Yeah. I have a Clarisy roll here. I actually tried to put the Clarisy roll through the Red Sea, and the motor was struggling with it.
Oh, really, eh?
Yeah, a little bit. I think I'm going to try it again.
Is the width right? About the same? Lewis, any experience in the ATI Straton Pro? I have not tried it. It looks pretty sleek. Like it's thin. Like it looks nice. I have no idea on performance and actually using it though. Have you used or seen it?
Have I used what?
The Straton Pro ATI?
I haven't. Oh, I've seen it, or I'm going to see it. I helped my friend who owns the aquarium shop in Long Island with an install. By the way, I know you've heard of Ultim, right? Ultim Nature Systems. They make some reef tanks. Oh, Dev. Beautiful refined reef tanks, Ultim. When we were in California last year, the Ultim tanks were on display.
Yep.
I can't even, like, just the way they've done, like, first of all, it's the mitered edges. You like refined stuff?
I do.
This is but the guy, he had ADI Stratton's Pros, and I think I saw them at the shop before they installed, and I need to go see them on the tank. But yes, flat.
Nice. No, they look pretty cool.
Yep. Fan said, I'm surprised more companies don't have barn door attachments to cut the light to a specific shape.
I agree. Yeah, like I 3D printed and designed my own for my XR30s and my big tank when I had a kid just to reduce the spill. So 100% agree with on that one.
Yeah, when you're in your living, like I love the Radions. I don't think we talk enough about the Gen 5 and the drawbacks. There's so much light hitting your glass. You have to clean that sucker every couple of days. So I've just resigned to leave it for a week or so.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, like if you're sitting in the summer, now I understand. So actually, it doesn't bother me in the summer because you can see it's New York City and we still have light. So it's not bad. And we're outside a lot more in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
But in the winter in New York, it would have been dark for 4 hours already in the dead of winter. So
true.
When it's extremely blue and there's no light from outside to balance it, yeah, it can be bad.
Yep, that's fair. Fair enough. Okay, so Stratton Pros. Let me know there when you see them because I've not seen them in person yet. I'm curious.
I will.
They look super thin and sleek, so I don't know if they just do passive cooling with aluminum or if there's actually tiny little fans inside. But let me know. They're not cheap. The Pro, $1,900 US.
They are not cheap.
No.
You know. Yeah, they're not cheap.
Yeah,
they are not cheap. I'm trying to find pictures of the ozone.
I was looking at their website. They look pretty nice.
Yes, it really is nice.
Yeah. No fans. Yeah, so that's why they'll be heavy then if there's no fans. Like any light with no fans, got to be using a big chunk of aluminum to dissipate the heat.
Yep. Hey, speaking of looking at pictures, Devin, this Royal exclusive, man. We've agreed to this deal, and you keep backing out.
What do we agree to?
I have a Red Dragon Speedy 50 watt. Yeah, and I told you I'm not buying another control for it. So
I have a controller.
You do have a controller for a Speedy 50 watt?
I might actually.
Why?
So are you giving me the pump or am I trading you a controller?
Wait, whoa. Now you've brought up a whole you've inserted an unknown element to this because I thought you just had the skimmer.
No,
I was giving you a skimmer pump backup.
Okay, so I had one of my Speedy pumps and it was shorting out and had an issue. And at first we didn't know if it was the controller or the pump. So I got a replacement controller and pump from Royal Exclusive when I contacted their support. And then it turned out later I realized there's a tiny hairline crack in the back of the enamel or whatever, epoxy for the pump. So that's what was causing it to short out. So I have this other controller, which I'm like 90% sure is perfectly fine. I do have a backup controller.
All right. So are you married to the Speedy?
Not really. I mean, I have some. But I have another pump too, which needs an impeller. I don't know. I have some random parts ones too. I got stuff.
My pump is not used. Like never touched water. All right, Dev, let's work. But I don't think there's a world where I was having a conversation with Greg yesterday about a backup, and what I really need to do is to have my backup strategy for a pump. Of course I use an Abyss, but if my Abyss fails, what is my plan?
Yep.
So I actually do need to, of course, I don't want to have a backup Abyss, but what I might do is get like a Vectra or something that is
reasonable.
No, that is what you do is have it set up so if I'm not home and the pump is not working, someone can just go unscrew it and screw the other one in and it works, or have the parts here to do it. And so that's what I'm looking to set up. I wasn't going to do it. I don't know. If you want the pump, I can send you the pump and then we'll figure out a trade later. But I'm not married to the pump. No, I'm not married to the pump. I think I'll get a Vectra and keep a Vectra as my backup, and I'll send you the pump.
That to me that makes more sense. Like that's
because you're a fan of Royal Exclusive.
Well, I mean, I just like them because they're freaking quiet. Like it's the quietest gear I've ever owned. That's myself. Yep. But I would prefer it if I had a DC pump and not an AC pump at the same time. Now, the 160 that I have has a DC pump, but it's an AC one on the 200, the mini
Yeah, the
200.
one that I took back, it's a mini Bubble King 200
Yeah.
but it's a really old one. That's fine. I have that was the loudest thing on my tank.
Really?
Right now, the loudest, the old AC Royal exclusive.
Okay.
Because I have a wood stand. You probably have aluminum stand. I have a wood stand. So anything vibrating. So, for instance, the loudest thing on my tank now is my overflow. Because the other day I told you I reopened the manifold, so the overflow is not silently tuned. I have a, what do you call it? The Synergy Reef overflow.
Yep.
And even though the top is covered,
I've heard that one's
loud. It's not loud when you have it tuned, and you actually need to have water going down the secondary overflow. But I think that's the loudest thing on my tank, which says a lot. When splashing water is the loudest thing, it's actually
So
great.
I have no splashing water, and I just turned the skimmer off and on, and I can barely detect any difference in noise. Like, it is quiet, but I don't know if it's different because mine's, within the past year, and yours was an older model. I don't know if there's a difference, but it was super quiet. I was impressed by how quiet it was.
I think it's an old one, and I think this is my living room, right? This is where we enjoy the time and we watch TV, so it's a little different. Then my bedroom is on the back half of that wall, so anything that's happening, you hear the hum through, because my mixing station is off here, and I don't, if you're not careful, and you have like I use a Tunzi pump. I think that's it.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay. In the chat, Mark, I have a 48 by 15 inch large tank. Radion's 5 or 6 better for a narrow tank. 5 or 6 doesn't matter, but either one I would probably put on the narrow lens kit, because you do not need like 2 feet of spread for a 15 inch tank. I'd just do the narrow lens kit and just run them at a lower percentage. 5 or 6 doesn't matter. They're both good lights.
Yeah,
but that's what I would personally do.
15, a 48 inch by 15 inch high,
or 15 inch wide.
Wow.
So
I think if you're doing like a regular tank, one XR30 mounted really high, or 215s will actually, I think 215s will actually work in this, because then you could spread it out. I think it'll work.
Yeah, so 15 wide. So I would probably do the narrow lens kit on them though, and just reduce the spread, because you're getting all SPS. That's what I would probably do.
I'll tell you something. There's a reason I do not use Radions in my bedroom with my kids. The spread, my kids, the Lagoon tank is in my kids' room. The spread on the Radion is so much that it doesn't matter if you put it 3 inches from the water. My kids wake up and they're like, "Dad, there's blue light in our eyes," because the minute the light comes out of the Radion, there is so much spread that I think the Kessel is the same way too. The Kessel, especially the new A360X Kessels, those lights have such a wide spread that if there's an instance where it's like a bedroom, I always recommend getting something with a narrower focus.
Yeah, like I'm happy they came with the narrow lens kit for those things. Like, and it's only like $20. Like, it's reasonably priced. But
and if
for light spill, it makes a big difference.
And for, if you're like at a fish store, if you work at a fish store, you need to put those things 5 feet above the tank, like you get actually some penetration, because it's not spilling light everywhere. Now, I know even someone like Worldwide Corals have a ton of these lights and it's working, but that's because they need to disperse it over such a wide area. So it works. So they actually create the punch they need by putting so many of the units together.
Strength in numbers.
There's,
no, makes sense. All right, do got to wrap up pretty quick, so let me know if you guys got any other stuff you want us to hit up first. But but with it 15 inches wide, like, you do not need 2 feet of spread. Like, I would save the power and put those on personally.
Yep. Reefkeeper said, "Pretty sure I heard Ecotech will offer the Radion with the narrow lid kit of the Vox." I don't know.
It would make sense. Uh,
Let me just one thing I've heard. I've heard that I've heard this being said as a negative, and I don't know if I think it's a negative. So someone said they released the G5, then
yep.
right after they released the G6.
Hmm.
But I think that's actually a good thing because when they released the G5, maybe I think people hated that cyan. I think I hated the cyan when it first came out, and I just got used to it.
I mean, you can just turn that dial down if you don't like the color, but
Yeah, at some point because it was such a stark difference, I I think it's always good when a company listens to their users and provides feedback, right? And releases the products that the customers want.
yeah, like
I like Coral View. They've been doing that a lot. Again, I wish my one wish is that they would launch products faster. But man, they have a ton of stuff in the pipeline, and I think it's things that people have been asking for. I
yeah,
think they're the one major. I understand why they probably do the solo. Is it called? I think because they are the last major manufacturer of protein of calcium reactors, and they probably know what users want
hmm
with calcium reactors more than anyone. So I'm not surprised by that product.
yeah. I don't know. I think more options is a good thing, to be honest. Like,
Hey, consumers, don't you love it? So now, if you're doing it, I personally run like those little new Tunzi pumps, the new Tunzi.
oh, those
I
are
hooked
awesome.
one of I bought the pot. I talked to Roger
Yeah.
because that's the great thing with Tunzi. You call the number. It's like, hi, this is Roger. How can I help you? He picks up the phone.
Hmm.
He told me what to buy on Amazon in terms of amps, wattage. So I bought like a little connector and I
Oh,
hooked up thing
perfect.
to it. So now I use it to run my calcium reactor.
Oh,
That
sweet.
pump, it's continuous duty. A snail crawled in it once, and it has an automatic jam protection where if something's in it, it'll turn off by itself.
That's cool.
Yeah, oh, that pump is so cool. Did you know for if you have it with the new osmolator, if you plug it in and unplug it 3 times, it actually changes the mode. Like
Hmm. Good to know.
I like I would anyway. I started by saying there's so many options now to feed a calcium reactor. I
Hmm.
use an AC pump just to feed it, and then how I adjust my calcium reactors with the pH.
Hmm.
There's the Camor. There's feed pumps. Some people pull through with the Versas. I don't do that anymore. I hate replacing the heads.
Fair.
Some people are going to have the Solo if you're a Hydros user, and I love the fact that you can get the Solo by itself if you're a hydros user and you just want intelligence into how your pump is operating when you're not there.
Hmm.
That's and you just want to plug maybe a leak detector into it. Let me see if like I love as a consumer how much
Options are good.
I man always good, like we
Hmm.
win. What is it called, the Hydro Solo?
I think so. Oh, I found it earlier. It took me a minute to find it, but yeah.
Yeah, Hydro Soul, not Solo,
So
sorry.
there you go. I did the
The
same thing.
Soul. Yes. Yep, the Soul.
SOL. The
Yeah.
Versa needs to have Wi-Fi. If I need to adjust the calcium reactor when away from home, deal breaker. Yeah, hopefully that comes out eventually.
Why do you need to adjust the calcium reactor when you're not home?
If your elk's off and you need to tweak it. I mean, I guess
But why
that's.
can't you just lower the pH by a little bit
I mean, you could.
through the controller?
That could work too.
Yeah, like Devin, you know me.
Fair
I
points.
am the controller person. But I think what I've learned is this stuff ends up biting me in the ass more than it should. When you over automate and you overthink everything,
Mm.
and listen, I think for one, like there were so many people calling for this MXN module, and then as it turns out, like not a lot of people used it or needed it, right? It's just I think sometimes we want these things and then we find out that we don't need them. And I hate to say like I was part of the or I am part of the problem, and I
Mm.
fully recognize that. But
I don't think you
if
need it, but it's nice to have,
if you're
which
out
is
of town
most
for
things.
if you're out of town for a week, your alk dropping by point and again, unless you go through like an extremely crazy growth spurt,
Hmm.
or your tank was not pulling alk and then all of a sudden it did, or hey, maybe you're not home and your pH went up because you're not home and you're but if
Yep.
your alk is dropping by point 0.2 every day, like it's not the end of the world.
Hmm.
It's not the end of the world. It'll be there when you come back in a week.
Yep.
It's not going to die.
Do you know one cool feature this is like, not that you need this, but I thought it was a cool thing that you could do with the MXM, is if my tank has like a leak sensor off or something like that, turn my radions to red. So my whole tank glows red for like alarm mode. Like you cannot miss it. I thought that like you can do some cool stuff. Like, do you need it? No. But is it cool? Yeah. Like there is some
Oh
neat
yeah,
things.
no, I'm part of the problem. I'm
Yeah,
part of
me
the
too.
problem. I'm 100%. Like you're talking to a guy who has
You're like, I need one again now. That's a cool feature.
multiple controllers on each system. Like I run a Hydros, right? I run a Hydros. You can't see. I have a Hydro sign and everything. But on this tank, like I still have some Apex stuff because I have in my ATO, I have an Apex tape sensor and I have some Apex leak detectors. I do have my Hydros leak. I have a Trident here. On my kids tank, which is my Neptune tank, I do run the Hydros ATO, and I just mix and match. I have them everywhere. Yep. So I'm the
special blend.
The other day, I was trying to set up a auto water change, and my old GHL Doser 2.1 I still have. I was, but I'm the guy. I'm part of the problem, but I don't have a but. I'm trying to make an excuse here, but
what would you need an excuse for?
Listen, I wouldn't be in this hobby if it wasn't for the technology. And I love the competition, right? I love the competition. I think these companies racing to put products out, it only benefits us.
Yeah, 100%.
One of the things I do wish, or not wish, I just see conversations and I find it hilarious. But there are other players in this hobby too. And I maybe listen, and so I saw a conversation one day where someone is like, the big companies are. This was hilarious, Dev. Someone was like, some of these companies in our industry are getting too big. I'm gonna go back to Instant Ocean and support the small guy.
Aren't they like the biggest out there for salt, like ever?
Well, Instant Ocean is.
Probably, I bet you have the biggest market share.
Instant Ocean is part of, I think it's Spectrum Brands.
Yeah.
And Spectrum Brands is such a big company that they make $2 billion on the stock market every quarter, right? So Spectrum Brands,
they are the big guy, not the little guy.
You know what I mean? They are the Tetra, Marineland, Glowfish, Instant Ocean, Omega One, and a couple other ones, right?
Yeah.
And then there's another one called Central Pet and Supply. So I don't have a takeaway from that. I just found that hilarious.
It's ironic.
Enough to laugh at. Yes, ironic. Yeah. But let's put pressure on these guys to be in and support the hobby too. For when I was in California, Spectrum Brands had a booth. I personally was so proud, man, to see Spectrum Brands like Instant Ocean and some of these small tanks. Yeah, they had a booth. Nice. Spectrum Brands had a booth, which is awesome. Yeah. So, let's I like Instant Ocean. I think after trying every salt on the market, I've come back to Instant Ocean because it's cheap. I get it readily available, and because it's low cost, I can do more water changes versus if I was using a Tropic Marine, which is more expensive. I would have to be more thoughtful. So the other day, I was able to pick up a couple of boxes for $30 each at Petco.
Cheap.
So Sunday, when something is happening, Saturday and Sunday, when I saw some like slow tissue necrosis, I don't know what's going on. I sent off an ICP test and I'm doing some other stuff. But guess what I did?
Water change?
I just did like a 65% water change because that just made me feel better. But I didn't have to think about it. Instant Ocean.
IO or Reef Crystals?
Reef Crystals gets my bucket a little dirty.
It does.
Because I think it has organics in it. But if Instant Ocean is not on sale and Reef Crystals is on sale and I get it within the same range, I'm buying.
Yeah. I pretty much only buy it when it's on sale. When they do, I usually buy a couple buckets just for good measure.
Yeah, Reef Crystals, I think there's organics in it. And I think because of the way I mix my salt and then I leave it for sometimes days at a time or weeks at a time.
Months.
Because I like to I like to just keep the mixed water on hand just in case there's an emergency.
Yep.
But I think reef crystals, man, just gets my bucket dirty. Like after 5-6 months, I have to do a complete. You put your hands in it and you wipe. There's like a black crud, and I think there's some organics in it. Biospira is also that big. They're the first bacteria that was created by Dr. Timms for that big company, right?
Really?
Biospira. Yeah,
Have some of that.
I think I saw it in Dr. Timms.
Good to know.
I think I saw that in Dr. Timms' origin story one time.
They have one called Quick Start for like cycling a new tank that I got to try for fun. It's funny, I have one of those big Home Depot bins on my deck right now with my rock that I'm pre-cycling. And every few days I just dump in some Dr. Timms, and I dump in a bit of ammonia and just keep on feeding it.
Yep, Dr. Timms, he developed Biospira. It's on his About page on drtimmsaquatics.com. So I'm not making that up.
Good to know. Good
Yeah.
to know. That's cool.
So,
Perfect. All right, I got to wrap her up. But
all right, sorry.
No, it's
Thank
good.
you,
It's been a
guys.
good one today. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out today. It's been fun.
I know. I feel like we just ranted on in front of people about equipment and stuff, but thank you
Oh,
guys for listening.
it's
I
reef
thought you
chat.
were going to make the last one a podcast. You didn't.
No.
You should. Come on, put it up, man. These are podcasts.
Yeah.
If you don't, I will.
I can rip the audio off for this, but I'll actually record the native audio next time. Nick, Sparkly, Dedicated Reefer, thank you guys so much for the super chat. Much appreciated. If you guys enjoyed it, hit the like button. Keeps the YouTube happy. And yeah. Oh, thanks for hanging out, buddy. It's always fun to have you on.
All right. Thank you,
Awesome.
man. Have
Thanks,
a good
everyone.
night.
Okay, have a
Bye.
good night. Bye.